I've updated my iPad to iPadOS 26. Honestly, there is a lot to love, a lot that is new. These four apps right here, Games, Journal, Phone, and Preview, are new apps that have come to the iPad. So we'll take a quick look at all of those. But before we even do that, let's go back to the lock screen. And as you can see, you can really adjust the height of the font as well. With the new iPadOS 26 wallpaper, you can see how some of these wallpapers and times will adjust with each other to fill the space well. But yeah, you can make this huge if you want it to be. I think a little bit bigger though is kind of nice for the iPad. The liquid glass effect here I think is really well done. Honestly, I thought the widgets on the side here would have a bit more of that glassy effect, but at least in beta 1 they don't really. So I wonder if that's something that they'll change, or maybe they thought it was just too much. I mean, look on the iPhone side as well. iOS 26 does not have really any liquid glass effects on those widgets there as well. So they're keeping it kind of more to the time, and iOS's case to the shortcut buttons down below. But yeah, I mean, this is the major redesign that is like once in a decade. And yeah, it is a redesign. And in a lot of ways, it's in the apps that I think you see this more so than even on the home screen. Because all the apps kind of look the same. They have a shine to them, and the Mail app has more depth, so does the Photos app. But overall, they are very, very similar to each other. But why don't we look at how we can customize the home screen now, so you get the same basic options as before. You can add a widget, add the wallpaper, customize, except you get a new option. Instead of just dark mode, default, and tinted, you now have a clear option. And there is a light mode of clear, and that's what this one looks like. And in basically all these options, you have light, dark, and auto. Which honestly, I think the light tinted looks really good. Or if you just want things to be even subtler and more muted, you get that dark mode, or you can leave it auto. So all of these have the always or auto, everything like that. And default honestly looks really similar to how it was, but hey, that's not so bad at all. But let's go to clear and leave it on auto here. Going into Control Center, you get more of that clear liquid glass aesthetic. And I think this looks really good overall. The volume and brightness sliders are more rounded to kind of match the rest of the icons here. And yeah, it kind of blurs just the area it's dropping down into, at least on iPadOS here, which I'm actually all for. I think that works really well. I can read everything here just fine. I do know though that some people, especially if they're a little older and their eyes are starting to not work quite as good, that they may find some issues with all this translucent backgrounds, because yeah, it doesn't make everything that easy to read. And that is one of the biggest downsides about this, especially if you have text on top of text, which this Control Center can blur the background pretty well behind it, so it's not too big of a deal, but that's something to just keep note of. And maybe Apple will change this later on in the betas, but this is at least how it's functioning for now. All right, this is Future Micah coming in with a quick note here. So you can actually go into accessibility, go to display and text size, and then there is an option here to reduce transparency. So if all these really transparent elements are distracting to you and hard to read, well, you can flip on reduce transparency, and boom, it makes it more like a frosted glass look, which I think is really neat. As you can see up here, it's also a bit more of a frosted glass behind them as well. All the areas of transparency is just a little bit less. Look at the notifications now. a lot more of a border behind them. So for those worried about readability, there is a workaround for it. All you gotta do is turn on this setting, and then everything is a lot less transparent. What I kind of wish was an option was being able to separately turn certain widgets clear and certain widgets not, because I think for some of them it would look fantastic, and others that have a lot of text, you may want to keep a solid background. So kind of intermixing them would be neat. We'll see if Apple adds that functionality on later, but right now that is not how it functions. All right, enough about the home screen. Let's talk about these new apps really quick. So this is the Games app. This is on iPadOS, macOS, and iOS. So it's kind of like Game Center, Apple Arcade, and all the games from the App Store put in one place. So just dedicated for gaming. It's easier to switch between your different games, and they said this app is really controller optimized too. So if you want to go out of one game and go into another just with your controller, it's kind of like a mini console menu, which is neat. I like the idea of that. I still think Apple has a long way to go when it comes to actual content in the Games app to be compelling for most people. I'm not much of a gamer though myself, so I think it's a neat idea, but it's not really going to appeal to me that much. Then there's the Journal app. This is the splash screen it gives you the first time. I am still surprised that they did not add the Journal app to iPad right away. I think that just makes way more sense because so many people like to journal with like a pen and paper. So the Apple Pencil that the iPad supports is like the perfect environment for a journal, but they didn't add it initially. So it's here now, and this is the interface you'll see on iPadOS in the Journal app. Very minimal, but I think it's just what you need it to be. And if you want to go to the Apple Pencil, this is what that looks like, and it works pretty stinking well. I do kind of wish you could give it like a template background, but as far as I know, it does not support that at this moment. I think that would be a great feature for Apple to add down the road. But yeah, you can use the pencil and all the pencil kit tools in this app, including the new Read pen, which does give a really nice aesthetic. And it thought I was trying to say something else, I guess. But yeah, a very nice pen tool. Then you have the phone app, which I'm going to have to blur basically all this stuff out, but you get all your recents right here on the side, and you can filter between calls, missed voicemails, and spam. And you get a little dialer right here, so you can dial right from your iPad, which is cool. Obviously, this is all powered by the iPhone. So if you're not using your iPhone as your main phone, which I actually am not right now, you're not going to be able to make calls and stuff off this iPad. And then last, but certainly not least of the new apps is the Preview app for iPadOS. And yeah, it works just like it does on macOS. And I think that this is going to be a great addition here. So let's just preview my last thumbnail here. And yeah, it looks great. You can do simple like editing moves. You can crop things quick. You can get some info about them. Apparently Preview even has visual intelligence, even though iPadOS doesn't really have that at all. It doesn't work though. So my theory is this is going to go away. This is just a glitch, but you can remove the background. You can also print, scan, and export as like a different format all from here as well. So as far as I can see, it has pretty much every preview feature that the Mac version has, all brought to iPadOS. But the biggest thing that I'm sure everyone here is looking forward to seeing is how does window management work on iPadOS? So let's just start opening a whole bunch of windows. So let's open one of these here. Open the calendar, and if it opens full screen, guess what? There's just a little handle right here. All you have to do is just size it to whatever you want it to look like. So I want it to just be a little compact month calendar right there. Then let's get Pixelmator out here. So size that just right. And if you don't see one on the dock that you need, you can just swipe out and go to the home screen, pull up ChatGPT. Now we kind of have a clutter of windows. It's also not limited to 4, so I can keep going and adding them. Then if I'm like, okay, I got too much going on here, I just need to see what all the windows I have open. Just swipe and hold, basically going to the app switcher. Now you can see all the apps in your that are currently up as windows. And off to the side there are apps that you just have open in general. But let's say, okay, my calendar got buried. I need this back on top. Cool. And then from here, you can long press on the three dots, which is just like macOS for close, minimize, and full screen. But you have some different moving and resizing options for these windows. Let's say I want 4x4. Boom. Takes the last 4 and pushes them all there. Looks great. But wait, didn't I have like 5 open? So where did my, oh, it was the Bible app. That's the one that got pushed to the side. All right, good to know. So now I have 5 apps pretty visible on screen, and I can still shrink this a little bit more, put this over something else. And let's say I want a nice floating calculator. There you go. That's 6 apps. Someone said that they've gone up to 12. I don't feel the need to actually put 12 apps on my screen for this test, but basically for any average user, and even I would say most pros, I think you can fit as many apps as you would want to on this device at one time, which is great. But I want to see how all this functions on an external monitor. To me, that's even a bigger deal, so we're going to take a look at that right now. So today's video is sponsored by KeysFan, and this is a great way to get cheaper software licenses. If you want to actually own your version of Office, you can buy them all on sale for 62% off using my code GXT62. Or if you want to buy a Windows 11 or 10 key, all of that right here with 50% off using my code GXT50. There are so many subscription models for all these software programs. This is a great way to actually own your software affordably. Thanks again to KeysFan. Now back to the video. So now you guys see the iPad connected to my external monitor here. And yeah, honestly, looks pretty great. I think it is still running Stage Manager technically, but hey, that was pretty fluid of moving it up here. Still lets everything resize as just as well as an iPadOS. But here's the big thing I want to test. So in times past, apps like Final Cut Pro would be very restricted as to what they could resize to and what they couldn't. So let's see if we can get this one to go full screen. No, we cannot. That is as full screen as it goes. Oh, that's a little bit fuller. But it will not break the iPad aspect ratio. It will go all the way to portrait now because it has that portrait mode. But yeah, that's all optimized for portrait and the landscape of iPadOS. Disappointing, but not altogether unexpected. Now, this is the first beta, so could that change throughout some of these updates? Yes. Do I expect it to? No. I feel like if Apple wanted to have that be in this version of iPadOS, they would have probably done it already, but maybe not. We'll see. I'm holding out hope. I really hope DaVinci Resolve will be more adaptable. So let's go full screen. And yeah, it's basically saying this is full screen. But I do love the new minimize, close, and full screen. They used to have those like 3 dots in the middle, and they kind of had very similar functions, but they didn't look quite like this. They didn't look as Mac-like, and they just were not that great to use. But yeah, I'm ready for them all to be flexible. Why are we still restricting like some of the pro apps like Final Cut Pro? Final Cut Pro users are probably the people who are going to want multitasking features more than a lot of other people. So why restrict them? I don't get it, but that's what's happening here on iPadOS. Lots of really neat stuff, but still nothing that seems mind-blowing to me. I do like the kind of flick to the corner. So here, I'll show that again. So you kind of, oh, and my iPad just did a soft reboot there. Okay. Guess it didn't like that too much. Beta 1, guys. Remember, beta 1. Give it some grace. But yeah, I don't necessarily recommend installing beta 1 for anyone out there who uses their iPad on a day-to-day basis, even though I do. I use my iPad every day and I'm installing beta 1. That's because this is what I do, and I'm willing to put up with all these bugs and annoyances to find out and test this iPad. But not every one of you is, and I don't think every one of you should do that. But as you see, all the apps open in the same way that they were last seen in. So if they kind of minimize or get closed, they'll open up in that same shape they were last used in, which I think is nice, especially if you tend to use your apps in the same way or in the same sizes all the time. Yes, it rebooted again, but hold on, we're almost there. Let's take 3 this. Will it let me move the window? It did. So if I take this and I kind of flick it to the corner, it will resize to be half the screen, not counting the dock. I think that's great, especially when you're using the touch screen and all that kind of stuff. Let's say I grab this app here. I would love to also see just I drag it to the corner of the screen and a little window pops up and lets me drop it into that like macOS. That would be great as well, but the flick is okay. You can get it to work with the mouse, and then you still get a nice drag bar between them. So yeah, this replaces split screen and slide over. There is no more mixed multitasking systems on iPadOS, which I'm all for. What I would love to start seeing is us to be able to put like file folders or apps or widgets or something on the external display as well. That's really the biggest thing that I'm feeling like the external display is lacking. And then these apps just need to be fully resizable so we can actually just full screen Final Cut Pro on an external monitor. Especially if they want me to replace my laptop with this iPad, which I'm almost able to do. Now, is this still pretty nice and useful here? Here's my last video I just made. Yeah, it is pretty useful at this big screen size, but it would be even better if I can make it full length, have a much bigger timeline, but at least we can change the clip height and everything and make it work for whatever screen size we have. Yeah, Final Cut Pro for iPad, it's getting better. Is it there yet? I don't know. That's a story for another day. Something I also just realized is that this control center icon now lets you toggle on windowed apps and Stage Manager. So you can control both of that right from just long pressing on this icon and then toggling them on and off. So this is just a toggle. Long pressing is selecting which one you're toggling on and off. I think that's really neat. So yeah, I mean, having a windowed app here, you can still long press on these 3 dots and move to display. And that seems a slightly more fluid than dragging it up there. I don't know why, it just is not liking that very much. If you go full screen, I mean, see, this one goes full screen, no problem. Why can't we do this with all of them? Oh, wait, I have found a problem. Now I can't get out of it. Let's just say there's still bugs to work out. Also, some background tasks do work right now. Final Cut Pro is supposed to be updating later this year to support that. But for example, if I were to start a download of something and leave the app, it will still show the background task of this downloading, and it won't freak out that I left Safari and everything like that. So the feature's working, it's just the apps that need to start supporting it. There's just 2 more things I want to show you quick before we end this video. So first is, if you have like an app open, you can go to the top now and look at this. You get a very Mac-like menu bar that drops down from the top. I think this is really neat. You can go right to like the app settings from here, which you could never do before. Now, it's still technically in settings. It's more of a shortcut to it. But hey, I will take it. And obviously, there's not a lot of options in most of these menu bars so far. But developers have had no time to optimize for this and actually put features in there. But I'm excited. I am really looking forward to what developers can put in there. I mean, especially with apps like DaVinci Resolve that are so massive and huge, and it's a lot like its Mac counterpart app already because of all these pages that you can hide and unhide. So if you give all the proper settings, I mean, look at all these playback settings that are already in the windows here. That's really neat. And mostly this is a place to check what your keyboard shortcuts are. But hey, I also take it, and I hope that they add everything that the Mac version of DaVinci Resolve has in these. So this wasn't a fix for me. This wasn't a major change to iPadOS. And to be honest, neither is the last thing I want to show you, which is the Files app. It definitely looks a little cleaner. You can do this whole tab bar thing, and yeah, that's kind of cool. You get column, you get a new lists view. You can give the folder an emoji or something and tag it with a color so it can change colors. But nothing here seems to have fundamentally changed. Really, the biggest change is just that the open with, which should be here. Don't get me wrong, I am very thankful for that, but it doesn't change my workflows a whole lot. I think what's even bigger is that you can add folders to the dock, like a downloads folder. I think that's a great change. Should have been there. It should have been a thing already, but this is what we need. We need more Mac features, and this looks just like the Mac OS. And look how good it looks on iPadOS. And I think that's a great step forward from Apple. And now let's see if we have any more external storage options. So no, it looks exactly the same. You can erase and reformat drives, which is great that you have that option at least, but you are not able to actually eject the drive. That's not an option in iPadOS. You just kind of gotta yank her free and hope nothing bad happens. Now, for the most part, people have said that ejecting drive is kind of an outdated system and it's not really necessary anymore. So if you want to believe that, then there should be no problem with this. And iPad should be totally fine with external SSDs and there should be no issue. But I still hear stories of people yanking out an SSD and having some problems. So I kind of wish the option was still there to eject the drive. But hey, it is what it is. This is the updates to iPadOS as they are right now. Nothing really Apple intelligence-wise came to the iPad besides like the live translation stuff that came through all of Apple systems. And now if you make a new image, you can style it based on ChatGPT styles as well. Yeah, because Apple realized their own image generation is not the greatest. So that's about the highlight of Apple intelligence for me. It's just giving ChatGPT more abilities to integrate with Apple's systems. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and comment down below. This video came out a little bit later than I wanted to, and it's a bit more of a casual style, mostly because I'm filming all at my house because I have a crazy busy week this week. Haven't been able to get out to the studio very well, and I'm editing these as fast as I can with all the stuff I have going on. I am helping out with a VBS, so it's just lots of craziness every night and things going wrong and registration problems and all sorts of stuff. That's been definitely delaying me a little bit on some of these OS coverages, but if you're wanting a more in-depth look at iOS, I would definitely be willing to make a video on that, or I might make a few shorts on some of the things, and I'm probably going to be doing an in-depth look at macOS because I do think there's some pretty interesting things there that I want to talk about. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and comment down below, and of course subscribe. It really does help the channel to grow and continue to reach more people. If you're curious about the equipment I use, all going to be linked in the description down below. Go ahead and check grafxtech.com for any merch options you might like, and as always, have a great rest of your day.